We are back on Morning Line. Our guest this morning, Davidson County District Attorney Glenn Funk. It's a pleasure having you on this morning. Thank you for coming. When we went to the break, we were talking about several circumstances, you say 4, that you think may have gotten the attention of some within the state legislature, which are now passing, as passed laws that may infringe on your ability to decide whether or not to prosecute certain cases, okay? We just talked about one of them. Give me some of these others with regard, I guess, to masks and the same-sex bathrooms and marijuana.
Well, the transphobic bathroom law was a law that says if you don't put up this sign outside your bathroom laws, then a business owner could be prosecuted and potentially jailed for not putting up a sign that warns patrons that people of different genders could be in the bathroom. Clearly that was unconstitutional. Once again, I was sued right away, the Davidson County DA and the Chattanooga DA, because the business owner that brought the lawsuit, along with some civil rights groups, that business owner had shops in Nashville and in Chattanooga. So I'm sued once again in my official capacity. What am I going to do with that? Well, when I was asked, I said, no, I'm not going to prosecute a business owner, right? Essentially that law that was passed was about picking on a very small minority of the population based on how they were born, right? We're not advocates for hate. What we're advocates is for trying to bring a community together in a safe way where we support each other.
So the answer there again, no.
No, and once again, the federal courts immediately said that it was unconstitutional.
Great, all right. Of course, you made a lot of headlines, and I think controversial, though, here in the state of Tennessee, I think a lot of people, if it would go to a referendum, I think we would pass legalizing medical marijuana at the very least like that. But you, as a district attorney, will not prosecute someone for less than half an ounce of marijuana if they're arrested with it here in Davidson County, unless it's associated with some kind of violent crime or something along those lines. And though marijuana is still illegal in the state, but not apparently less than half an ounce in Davidson County.
Well, number one, marijuana laws do little to promote public health and even less to promote public safety. Looking at the statistics, there was a tremendous racial disparity on who was actually charged with marijuana, prosecuted with marijuana, incarcerated over literally less than half an ounce of marijuana. We're trying to focus the resources of our office on violent crime. Now, while I say, yeah, we're not going to prosecute cases that are less than half an ounce of marijuana, if a case like that ever came across my desk, less than half an ounce, charged with simple possession, that implicated violent crime, that it was a part of violent crime or implicated public safety, sure, we'd evaluate the case on whether or not to go forward in that. I've been doing criminal law as either a prosecutor or a defense attorney for 35 years, and I still hadn't seen one. So, that's where we stand. And it's about resources, it's about making sure that the system is fair, and it's about trying to not give people narcotics convictions if it's not really a threat to public safety.
Okay, and the most recent one, of course, what we just saw the legislature do, the big focus on prohibition on Metro, or the requiring employees to receive the vaccine, prohibition on private businesses or a school to require proof of a vaccine. If a business or a school, private business, chooses to require proof of vaccine, then an employee wants to charge them with a crime, and they come to you, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, the executive order dealt with public school systems. Cannot have a mask mandate in public schools. A school board member contacted me, said, hey, if we have a mask mandate in Nashville, are we going to get prosecuted? Okay. My simple response is, I'm never going to prosecute a teacher or a school administrator or a school board member for keeping our children safe. Not going to do that. Now, in reality, what are the odds that that's ever going to turn into a case? 0. I cannot imagine a Metro Nashville police officer going to Whites Creek High School and arresting a school teacher or the principal because they had a mask mandate. Even if a Metro didn't do it, how would it turn into an arrest? Would would the state send a state trooper to do that? I don't think they would ever do that. If they did, would a Nashville judge sign a warrant for that? If some prosecutor appointed by the Attorney General came in and tried to prosecute that case, would a Davidson County grand jury indict it? Would a Davidson County jury convict on it? No chance. Zero. So why spend all of that energy? I was asked a direct answer. I gave I was asked a direct question. I gave a direct answer.
All right. So what do you think? Do you think the lawmakers who passed this know this? Are they going to try to be heavy-handed with it? And if they did try to appoint a special prosecutor, which you just mentioned, that would be one option by the Attorney General. I mean, what's this all about? Could they pull that off? I mean,
I'm not sure what the final version of the bill looks like, and I don't know if the governor is going to sign it. I don't know if the governor vetoes it, whether or not it would be overridden by the legislature. But in the last version of the bill that I saw, the mechanism would be, Glenn Funk is not prosecuting marijuana, or Glenn Funk is not prosecuting our prohibition on mask mandates, or Glenn Funk is not prosecuting doctors for not telling patients this junk science that we put into this bill that actually makes things much more dangerous for their patients. And so what would happen is the Attorney General would be responsible to use the Attorney General's discretion on whether or not to go to a court, or in one version of the law, I think might be the final version, go to the Supreme Court of the state of Tennessee and ask and say, hey, this needs to be prosecuted. I want you to allow me, the Attorney General of the state, to go and get a special prosecutor to come in and handle these crimes. That will cause all kinds of constitutional problems. If the Supreme Court says, yeah, this needs to be prosecuted, how ultimately, if a case gets to the Supreme Court, can they be impartial when they've already weighed in at the very inception of the case, right? Plus, even if that happens, then they've still got to have the checks and balances, which requires a Nashville judge, a Nashville grand jury, a Nashville jury at a jury trial to agree to convict. And that's not going to happen. So the checks and balances built into the system will allow the judicial division of our government to maintain its independence. The legislature, the judicial branch, the executive branch, co-equal, independent, and we serve as checks and balances on each other. Now, if you remember back, folks in my age demographic, School of Rock, talk about where the prosecutor fits in this a lot. And in the federal system, prosecutor fits under the executive branch. Under the state of Tennessee Constitution, which was written in 1871, clearly under Article 5, the prosecutor is with the judges as far as a part of the judicial branch. Okay. But the judicial branch in Tennessee is co-equal, right? And it's independent. We have set up a constitutional system where the voters of a judicial district elect their district attorney to stand in front of the courts in their county and advocate on behalf of the people of the state of Tennessee, and to use his or her discretion on where to put the resources of that office.
So, so in a nutshell, the results and what's come out of this special session doesn't worry you, and it's not going to change the way you do business at all.
I do not think that this legislation will have a major impact on how the courts of Davidson County are run.
Well, how about your office?
As far as how my office is run, we evaluate every case as it comes through. If it deals with public safety, then we put our full resources behind those cases.
As you said, violent crime is the focus for you.
That's exactly right.
Okay, listen, I just want to hit you on a few things here, and we'll take some calls in our next segment, but just talking about violent crime and the like, it's been some time coming. I know there may be limitations on what you can say on some of these cases, but the Waffle House shooting happened more than 3 years ago. Travis Ranking moving forward, can you at least tell us why has it taken so long for him when Emmanuel Sampson, right around the same time, another mass shooting, did end up having his day in court? Travis Ranking's, I guess, scheduled for trial, I think now we've heard in February, perhaps. What can you just tell us about the status of that case, without violating any gag order?
I think if COVID had not rolled in, which shut down all jury trials for about a 10, 11, 12-month period, if it hadn't been for COVID, I think we would have been able to have that trial heard over a year ago. I do think the case is going to be going to trial very shortly. I think that's important for the community to be able to have that trial on behalf of the community, for the victims who have, some folks have lost loved ones because there was some deaths involved. There were some horrendous injuries, crippling injuries. Those folks need to have justice through a jury trial. The defendant's family needs to be able to go ahead and have the trial. So,
I mean, does that mean you never discuss plea deals? I mean, could something like that ever come up on something like this?
I cannot comment on a pending case.
Okay, in general, though, do you try to sometimes consider that possibility if both sides can reach an agreement?
In every case, there are at least some discussions, but some cases are so horrendous that we know that we are going to attempt to put the full force of the state government behind trying to make sure that we incapacitate an individual for as long as possible, maybe even for life in a murder case. And every case has different considerations, right? Facts are different, laws different depending on the individual circumstances of the case. We have roughly 210 available jury trial dates, and we want to make sure that those are used for the cases that are most serious for the community.
Take a quick break. We'll be back. We can take some calls for the general. We have some other things we want to talk about, including the incarceration rate and a lot of money being saved because fewer people are being locked up. It costs us a lot of money when you lock someone up. We'll be right back after this.